The rainforest floor is a tapestry of shifting shadows and filtered light. Beneath the canopy, silence is the primary language of survival. A chameleon anchors itself to the edge of a broad, waxy leaf, merging so perfectly with the veins of the plant that it becomes part of the foliage. It does not blink. It does not sway. It simply waits. 3 inches away, a fly hovers, its wings beating in a frantic humming blur against the humid air. The chameleon senses the vibration before it sees the insect. Slowly, with mechanical precision, one eye swivels toward the target. Then, the other follows, turning independently, adjusting for distance and wind speed. The world outside this tiny radius ceases to exist. The fly lands on a nearby twig, unaware of the trap. The lizard shifts its weight, locking every muscle into a rigid, calculated stance. The target is centered. The distance is measured. Every nerve ending in the predator is coiled, waiting for the singular moment when the margin for error disappears. The air holds its breath. The fly begins to preen, unaware that the distance between it and the hunter has already been erased by the intensity of that unblinking, predatory gaze. The strike happens faster than the brain can process. In a fraction of a second, the chameleon's tongue uncoils, a pink ribbon of muscle whipping across the 3-inch gap. There is no warning, no tremor in the air. The fly is still cleaning its wings when the sticky tip of the tongue hits its thorax. The impact is instantaneous. Before the insect can twitch its legs, the tongue retracts with violent efficiency, snapping back into the depths of the lizard's mouth. The entire sequence, from the initial launch to the final swallow, takes less time than a single human heartbeat. This is the fastest muscle contraction in the entire animal kingdom, a biological snap that defies standard reaction times. The chameleon shifts its jaw, swallowing the catch in one rhythmic motion. The leaf returns to its original, still state. The lizard closes its eyes, the independent swivel motion resetting to a calm, steady gaze. It remains on the branch, motionless once more, its metabolism settling back into the quiet rhythm of the forest. The trap has been sprung and reset, leaving nothing behind but the silence of the jungle, proving that in this world, speed is the only measure of success. The atmosphere shifts from the humid canopy to the crushing, silent depths of the ocean. Light struggles to penetrate this far down, casting everything in shades of slate and deep blue. A jagged rock formation rises from the sandy floor, a silent monolith in the current. Tucked deep within a shadowed crevice at the base of the stone, an octopus waits. It is a master of absolute stillness, its body compressed into a narrow gap, barely distinguishable from the surrounding sediment. Its eyes are fixed on the open sand beyond the rock. A crab scuttles into view, moving with a rhythmic, side-to-side gait. It is armored, clicking its claws against the pebbles, oblivious to the void beneath the stone. The octopus watches the crab navigate the path, its mantle rising and falling with the rhythmic intake of water. The distance between them closes. The crab stops, its antennae twitching, sensing a shift in the water pressure. It hesitates, tilting its shell as if weighing the safety of the path. The predator remains anchored, a shadow within a shadow, holding its breath as the prey steps closer to the edge of the crevice. This is a game of life and death, played in total silence, where every movement is a calculated risk. The crab pauses, its stalked eyes rotating to scan the immediate perimeter. It remains inches from the crevice, unaware of the mass hidden just behind the stone. Inside the narrow gap, the octopus responds. It does not move its limbs, but its skin begins a radical physical metamorphosis. Tiny muscles beneath the surface pulse, forcing the flesh to expand and contract. Smooth, soft skin ripples, rising into sharp, jagged bumps that perfectly mimic the mineral density of the surrounding rock. The change is fluid, like water hardening into stone. Where there was once a soft, organic curve, there is now a jagged, porous surface that matches the texture of the reef perfectly. The crab continues its trek, walking directly over the spot where the predator lies. It feels the sand, it feels the water, but it senses no obstruction. The octopus remains locked in this state, its breathing slowed to a near halt to prevent any telltale shift in the surrounding silt. Every nerve is focused on the crab's vibration against the seafloor. It is no longer an animal. It is a feature of the environment. The crab stops again, resting one claw on the very rock that hides its demise, sensing absolutely nothing. The silence is absolute, a vacuum waiting for the strike. The crab shifts its weight, settling onto the stone, completely oblivious to the living trap beneath its feet. Then, the stillness breaks. In a fraction of a second, the octopus abandons its disguise. The rock-like texture vanishes as the creature erupts from the crevice with impossible speed. Its tentacles lash out like coiled springs, expanding into the water with overwhelming force. Before the crab can retract its claws or pivot away, the limbs wrap around its shell. The vacuum of the strike displaces the silt, creating a sudden, violent cloud of debris. The crab is pinned, its legs kicking uselessly against the grip of the predator. With a single, powerful recoil, the octopus pulls the prey backward. The sound of the struggle is muffled by the crushing weight of the ocean, but the action is decisive. The crab is dragged into the narrow darkness of the crevice, disappearing completely from the open sand. The silt settles back into the grooves of the rock, leaving the sea floor exactly as it was. Only the absence of the crab remains. The predator has secured its meal, proving that camouflage is not merely a defensive trick, but a lethal tool for survival in the deep. The ocean depths recede, replaced by the calm, filtered light of a freshwater pond. Near the surface, the water is glass, disturbed only by the gentle ripples of a patrolling archerfish. It glides just beneath the surface tension, its eyes fixed upward, tracking the movement of a beetle on a branch that hangs low over the water. The fish pauses, aligning its body to compensate for the refraction of light through the surface. It does not rush. It observes the beetle, noting the slight tremor of the branch and the distance between the insect and the waterline. The archerfish moves into position, its dorsal side barely breaking the surface. It opens its mouth, taking in a precise volume of water, feeling the weight and pressure against its tongue. This is not instinctual behavior. It is a calculated measurement of force and angle. The fish holds its position, gills pulsing in a rhythmic, steady cadence. It stares at the beetle, ignoring the debris floating nearby, entirely focused on the target. The water intake is complete, the internal channels primed, and the trajectory is set. It stays perfectly still, a submerged projectile waiting for the signal to fire. The release is instantaneous. The archerfish contracts its mouth, forcing the water through a narrow groove in its palate. A concentrated aerodynamic jet erupts from the surface, cutting through the air with surgical precision. It strikes the branch with a sharp, audible slap. The beetle, caught off guard, loses its foothold and tumbles into the open air. The fish does not wait for the insect to hit the water. As the beetle begins its descent, the archerfish surges upward, breaking the surface tension in a spray of droplets. Its jaws snap shut with a wet thud, catching the target midair. The force of the strike sends ripples outward, distorting the pond's reflection. The fish drops back into the depths, the water swallowing the movement instantly. The branch remains still, stripped of its occupant. The surface returns to a flat, glassy calm, masking the lethal efficiency of the strike. This is a weapon forged by millions of years of adaptation, turning a simple pond into a hunting ground. The beetle, once perched above the danger, is gone. In this environment, distance provides no safety. The archerfish glides back into the shadows, already scanning the canopy for the next vibration. The mechanism is complete, the target secured, and the water remains undisturbed. The pond fades, left behind for the deep, shadowed architecture of the rainforest. Here, the air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. High in the canopy, light filters down in thin, vertical shafts, illuminating the shifting ferns below. A sudden movement disrupts the stillness. A lyrebird glides down from the upper branches, its wings beating slow, rhythmic arcs through the humid air. It lands on a thick, moss-covered limb, the wood bending slightly under its weight. The bird grips the bark, talons digging into the rot, and stands motionless. It tilts its head, one eye scanning the forest floor, the other turned toward the distant, unseen edge of the human world. It shifts its balance, adjusting its stance to find the perfect acoustic vantage point. The forest is loud with the calls of insects and the drip of water, but the bird ignores these ambient noises, filtering them out with focused intensity. It stretches its neck, beak slightly parted, testing the resonance of the air around it. Every muscle in its throat tightens in preparation. It is not searching for food. It is calibrating its surroundings. The bird finds its position, anchors its feet, and waits. The entire forest seems to hold its breath as the performer prepares to assert its dominance over the soundscape. The first sound is a sharp, crisp click. It rings out with the exact tempo and metallic snap of a camera shutter. The bird remains perfectly rigid as the sound echoes through the dense foliage, a synthetic intrusion in the wild. It pauses, beak closed, throat pulsing with a rhythmic vibration. Then, the tone shifts. A low, guttural growl begins to build, rising in intensity until it tears through the canopy with the jagged, rhythmic roar of a chainsaw. The sound is unmistakable, precise, and jarring. The bird repeats the pattern, alternating between the rapid-fire shutter and the heavy, grinding machinery. It does not blur the sounds. It articulates each one with clinical accuracy. The contrast is surreal. Every time the chainsaw roar peaks, the surrounding forest insects seem to vanish into sudden, stunned silence. The bird does not falter. It controls the soundscape, projecting its mimicry outward to fill every corner of the clearing. It pivots on the branch, aiming the sound toward the trees, as if testing the acoustics of the wood. The mechanical noise persists, a haunting echo of the human world transposed onto the wild. The bird pauses again, head cocked, listening to the resonance of its own performance. It is a master of its domain, claiming the air with sounds that do not belong to the forest, yet are now entirely its own. The bird stops, its throat stills, and the forest returns to its natural rhythm. From the lightning-fast recoil of the lizard's tongue to the shifting texture of the octopus and the precise water jet of the archerfish, the pattern is clear. These are not random occurrences. They are the results of millions of years of refinement, each movement a calculated response to the pressures of survival. Nature is a series of precise, mechanical actions, built for efficiency and executed with absolute intent. Every creature is a master of its own domain, utilizing its unique tools to persist in a world that never stops competing. Look beyond the surface. The next time you find yourself near a living thing, watch for the mechanism behind the motion. Observe the flick of a tail, the blink of an eye, the subtle shift in stance or sound. There is an edge to survival hidden in plain sight. It is in the tension of a muscle, the timing of a strike, and the stillness before an action begins. The world is a complex machine, and every animal is a vital, functioning part of its design. Look closely. The evidence of their mastery is everywhere, written in every movement they make.